where's the pathway to the future with Donald Trump by staying with Donald Trump?
Except possible employment.
Possible employment, I don't think so. He's facing 71 felony counts. You may have at least 2 more indictments. One of these cases or more is going to get tried, right? And if you don't plea out, and you get convicted in state court and or federal court, and you've never been in trouble before, there's a high probability that you're going to be sentenced. I don't care whether you're a former president, whether you're running for office or not. The criminal justice system cares nothing about that, despite all the political machinations about this being weaponized, prosecutors and what have you. I can guarantee you every night, Donald Trump is thinking about his liberty and his freedom despite his bravado. I've represented business leaders, corporate CEOs, athletes, entertainers, and a lot of politicians who've run for office and been under indictment. And I can tell you, in their private moments with their lawyers and with their families, they're thinking about that future, and Donald Trump is worried about this now. So,
Sean, part of the issue here, of course, is that this is going to be called politicized. Everything any judge does, anything the prosecutors do, there's already accusations of politicization. Hence, maybe these small witnesses who we don't know about are important to button this case up yet more than a normal case would be buttoned up, because there can't be any stone left unturned. There can't be any possibility that Jack Smith doesn't know the full story when prosecuting this case.
I think that's very true. Usually, by the time they go to the grand jury, they would have been interviewed already. So this is really either you're worried they might spin you later, so you want to lock them in, or you think you might need this actually to present to the grand jury. So they're clearly doing a pretty comprehensive case. I mean, they're under a lot of pressure, not only because the stakes are very high, but there is this clock that's ticking on them. And I would say normally, you know, the target letter certainly means that they're confident in their evidence and they know who's the target. It doesn't always come right on the eve of the indictment. If they're really so close to the indictment, it does strike me as a little bit unusual that they're still bringing in witnesses right now. And that could just reflect the frenzied pace of this. They know there's a clock ticking. They still have to do an excellent job.
They got to interview a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. So everything's happening at the same time.
Well, you're prosecuting the former president of the United States who believes you've politicized his prosecution. But watch this claim. I think the smaller witnesses are still going in the grand jury because of the conspiracy claim. Conspiracy, people agreeing to break the law. You need 1 or 2 people in an agreement to do that. These younger, less important witnesses are close to power.
They were in the room.
They were in the room, and while they may not make a lot of money, they're at the seat of power right next to the president. And presidents talk just like chief of staffs talk. And these younger witnesses, these smaller unknown witnesses, just like you saw in the January 6th committee, they have information. They've heard things said, they've seen things done. And that's super important when you're putting together this prosecution where you know conspiracy is going to be there because he's the political mob boss, so he's not getting his fingerprints on everything, but you can weave a network or a narrative that shows that he's leading this criminal narrative, and that coupled with cooperation. See, we haven't talked about cooperation.
The idea they might lean on these guys to say, we won't go after you the same way if you'd give us...
Or we give you a deal, or better yet, we need you because Donald Trump is going to be criminally indicted. There is no future with him. Now, they may believe it, they may be politically loyal and what have you, but at some point in time, Politico has to hit reality. Okay, these people have families. Are they going to go down for Donald Trump, who has never stood with anybody most of the time, and he's got a long list of people that he's left in his dust, and he's survived and succeeded.
What about this guy, this lawyer didn't show up today? Now, on one hand, if I've got a problem, I might say, hey, I want a guy who's familiar with this case. Is that it? They're all a few people. This is not the first instance where a bunch of people in Donald Trump's orbit are represented by the same lawyer.
Yeah, I have to say that some of this is because I think some of the top-tier, better-known folks have begun to say no. It's too much of a political hot potato.
So it's a reputational issue. For
there's some rumors about not getting paid. For example, I was stunned that Evan Corcoran, who I used to work with, has stayed in the case this long, despite all the things going on here. So it's an unusual situation. Usually, the first thing you do in a big white-collar situation is you want to make sure everybody's got their own independent-looking lawyers. You want them to talk to you as the main lawyer. but not literally be representing multiple people at the same time. That's an odd situation.
Guys, great talking to you. Thank you for being here this evening. We really appreciate it. A. Scott Bolden and Sean Wu. All right, coming up, why exactly right-wing donors and MAGA Republicans are so in love with Joe Manchin and RFK Jr. But first, Senator Chris Murphy joins me on the